Stopping against my bedroom window sliced through the dead silence of 4 a.m. and drove me straight out of sleep. I sat up on the edge of the mattress, heard hammering so hard I could hear it. No, it wasn't a dream. Coming from the glass, a faint rhythmic rattle, like someone persistently drumming their fingernails against the pane. I crept over, held my breath, pulled back the blind. Nothing outside, but grime on the glass of my dine over watered cactus. But as I stood there staring into the pitch black, I could feel a low, steady vibration humming through the windowsill. I went to the kitchen, lit a cigarette, tried to rationalize it. The window frame in this complex were rotting, and whenever a heavy semi-truck rolled down the interstate a mile away, the glass always rattled. That all it was, just a truck. I repeated that until the bitter smoke hit my lungs, but deep down, my cat was screaming. Something about that night felt fundamentally wrong. The next day, the grind of my 9 to 5 pushed the anxiety out of my head. By the time I was walking home at 9 p.m., I had convinced myself I was just sleep deprived and losing. My walk home cut through the backlots of bleak 1970 brick apartment complex, right past a rusted out 80 playground, the kind with hollow-eyed, chipped paint, animal spring riders that always looked like they were watching you in the dark. I hated walking past the things at night. My building sat just behind it. Decay 5-story brutalist block of concrete and cheap brick. A miserable place, and the tenants matched the vibe. The only neighbor I ever actually spoke to was Gary from 5B, late 50s, master mechanic, dedicated alcoholic. He was sitting on his plastic cooler by the front door when I walked up, a hand-rolled cigarette dangling from his lip. "Evening, Mark. You look like hell, kid." "Just overworked, Gary." I ducked inside before he could rope me into one of his long monologue. Upstairs, locked the deadbolt, scalding shower, bed, pitch black. I closed my eye, and the absolute second I start to drift off, tap, 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 my eyes snapped open. This was different from the night before. Not the glass settling, not the interstate. This was a distinct, deliberate sequence. It lasted about 60 seconds, then stopped cold. A sweat broke out on the back of my neck. I told myself it was a wind, a stray bird, because the alternative was impossible. I live on the 3rd floor. The exterior wall of this building is sheer, flat brick, no fire escapes on the side, no ledges, no gutters, nothing to grip. To tap on my bedroom window, something would have to be floating 40 feet in the air. 2 nights later, the paranoia finally got the better of me. I grabbed 2 cold beers from my fridge and walked up to the 5th floor. Gary opened the door. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in days, deep purple hollows under his eyes. Jaw tight, he let me in without a word. I didn't sugarcoat it. "Gary, Something been tapping on my window at 3 a.m. Third floor. Sheer brick. Tell me, I'm losing my mind? All the color drained out his cheeks. He sat down slowly at his kitchen table and popped his beer. Yeah, Gary said quietly. Last night, I was up late, stone sober, soldering a circuit board. Heard the sharp crack against the living room glass. He dropped his voice to a harsh whisper, like he was afraid the walls were listening. I turned the lamp off, crept to the window. He started at the table. It was climbing the brick, moving its arms and leg way too fast like a gray-skinned insect the size of a man. No clothes, no sounds except the scrape of its hands over the brick, and when he reached up to grip the steel, his voice cracked. Its hand was twice the size of Shaq's. The chill ran all the way down my spine and settled in my gut. I splashed water on my face, came back out. The shadow was still there, just waiting. I haven't slept since. Carrie, I say slowly, who lives directly below you? Fourth floor. Mrs. Higgins, sweet old lady, her hip, always wearing that pink cardigan. His eyes narrowed. Why? No reason. I stood, get some rest. He cut my wrist. His grip was iron. Do not outlook that window tonight. Keep the blinds down. If you hear it, you stare at the floor. That night wasn't peaceful. At 3 a.m., a violent thud hit my kitchen window. The glass somehow held, the impact echoing through the whole apartment. 2 minutes later, third against the living room window. Third floor. I kept whispering to myself, tears of rough panic streaming down my face. The third floor. It's physically impossible. I grabbed my phone, crawled into the narrow wooden closet next to my bed, pulled the lower door shut, and sat in the dark among my winter coats, snacking so hard my teeth were clicking. I didn't come out until morning light started bleeding through the wooden slats. When I finally crept into the kitchen, my breath stopped in my throat, pressed dead center against the exterior glass was a handprint. Not human. The palm was grotesquely narrow, and the 5 fingers were impossibly, sickeningly long, left in a thick, dried smear of dark river mud. I grabbed the kitchen knife and went down to Carrie's door. Knocked for 5 minutes. No answer. Dread rising. I went to the first floor. Mrs. Higgins' door was standing wide open. I pushed it gently. The apartment inside was destroyed. The TV stand overturned. The dresser's mirror shattered in 100 pieces, and a long dark streak of dried mud trailed from the center of the living room straight to the open, shuttered window. Mrs. Higgins was gone. 4 days of dead silence followed. No tapping, no Gary, no word from anyone in the building. On the 5th evening, Gary finally opened his door. He was gripping a baseball bat. hadn't showered, clothes strained. His eyes were the eyes of a man who had seen something he could put back. He pulled me inside by the collar. He dragged me into his bedroom. The window was spider-webbed with deep, massive fracture. The glass somehow still in the frame by sheer tension. I stood there all night, he said, pouring vodka into a dirty coffee mug. With a shaking hand, dust started through the cracks. Mark is getting angrier. If you don't look directly at it, it just taps, shifts its weight, tests the glass. Patient, but the second you make eye contact, he downed the vodka in the swallow. I tries to break through. He slammed the mag down of the dresses. I'm getting a Remington 12 gauge from Earl tonight. And you get cameras, night vision. Mount them outside of your window. We need to see where this thing is crawling up from. By 6 that evening, I had 2 wireless 1080 night vision cameras streaming live to my laptop, mounted flash against the exterior brick on either side of my windows. When I leaned out to rig the second one, I looked down into the courtyard. 2 Baltimore country police cruisers sat below. A crowd of tenants and bathrobes watch officer take note on the curb. 3 more people had vanished from the complex over the weekend. The cops looked completely baffled. You cannot investigate a crime scene that defies the laws of physics. At 2:50 am, the topping returned. I grabbed my phone, bolted into the closet, pulled the door shut, and opened the camera feed with shaking fingers. Oh my god, I slapped my palm over my mouth. On the glowing screen, bathed in the eerie green of infrared, was a creature. It clung to the sheer brick outside my window. Its joints bent backward like a massive, pale playing mantis. 7 feet long at least, skin translucent, sleek, grey. It turned its head slowly towards the glass. Then it reared back and slammed its palm against the window. Crash! The bathroom window exploded inward. I heard the heavy wet impact of its limbs hitting the carpet. Then a rhythmic clicking, low and steady. It's breathing. It dragged itself across the floor, broken glass, crunching under the weight. The sound got closer and closer until it stopped outside my closed door. I pressed my spine flat against the back wall, pinched my nose shut, stopped breathing entirely. I see you. The voice didn't come from a human throat. It sounded like air being forced through a wet, rotting bellows. Top, top, top. A long, grey mud gagged fingers slipped through the wooden slats of the closed door. The double-jointed tip brushed slowly against the sleeve of my shirt. Boom! My front door blew entirely off its frame. A flood of yellow fluorescent light poured into the bathroom. The creature let out a high-pitched shriek, wrapped its hand back through the slats, and scrambled away from the light. Through the slats, I saw Gary stepped in the barrel of Remington. 870, smoking in his fists. He pounded the slide, clack, clack, and fired straight at the window as the creature hurled itself into the open night. I fell out of closet completely broken. Carrie vowed rubbing alcohol under my nose just to stop me hyperventilating. The police arrived 8 minutes later and immediately cuffed Carrie. No body, no evidence, illegal discharge of a firearm. It cost me a lawyer and most of my savings to keep him out of his cell. He moved to West Virginia 2 days later. He slept fine now. I don't. The camera footage was corrupted. Every frame containing the creature nothing but dead, glitching static. I broke my lease, threw my furniture in dumpster, moved into the high-rise downtown, 7th floor, concert balcony. No exterior brick to climb. 2 weeks of silence. Then the message started. Strange invasion to email and social media. Late night gatherings. But the addresses abandoned warehouses, busy docks, a flooded quarry, a condemned rail depot. It's intelligent. It understands our tools. I know my digital footprint. It knows exactly where I moved. So take this as warning if you wake up at 3 a.m. to a soft, polite tapping on your glass. Don't look. Grab your keys and drive to nearest lit motel. And if you can leave, get a camera, get a shotgun, because when it finally decides to stop texting the glass, you need to see it coming first.